Hey, this is Terrence Lachey, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this podcast, The Growth Exchange. This podcast was designed to curate conversation, dialogue, and monologue around all things growth. I believe that everything living has the potential to grow into its fullest and most maximal potential. So let's grow. Hey, welcome back to another edition of The Growth Exchange with Dr. Terrence Lachey. I'm Dr. Terrence Lachey, and I'm blessed to have somebody in the studio with me today. For those who are listening and not watching, you're missing out on some nice visuals here. This gentleman's got on a bow tie and a suit, but he's also wearing some polka dot socks. Man, I'm excited to have this brother with me today, and that's none other than Dr. Jason McGee. Welcome, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
That was just to neutralize the space. You know that you didn't anticipate I was going to open up with the bow tie and the socks.
Facts. I didn't even know they were showing, so that works.
Hey, I love it. I'm a socks man as well. I like socks. They express who we are in a way.
They do,
even if nobody else sees them. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah,
right? And then the bow tie. There's a reason behind that, right? The bow tie.
Yeah. You know what? It was a way for me to stand out.
Absolutely.
When I was as an assistant principal working in schools.
Okay.
And I said, let me do something different.
Yeah.
And I wore it once, and I was like, oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. For those who may not know who you are, Dr. McGee is an inspirationalist, but a school principal, PhD, also a man about town as it relates to resources and mentoring young men, African American and otherwise, but specifically mentoring and showing the patterns of success through your own journey. Married, wonderful children. You can shout out, when you start talking. It's one thing for me to give your bio, but it's another thing to say, my wife said, or I was talking to my son the other day. Yeah. Those are the kinds of things, man, that this podcast is all about, is growth and our personal success, our personal levels of achievement, accomplishment, goal setting. And I want to talk, all things Jason McGee today, man.
That's
Dr. Jason McGee.
This is good. Good. I'm here for it.
So start with your journey, man. I know that you're a principal, but you're also an author. You're currently working on a manuscript, even as we speak, right?
We are.
The deadline is banging on the door. Right?
Big time. Like tomorrow's the deadline.
How are you coming with that?
I don't know if that launch is going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday.
That's why happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
And if somebody's listening to this post your birthday, just happy birthday, man.
Okay, thank you.
How old?
I'll be 45.
45, man.
45. Man. Yeah.
Just think if we marked our years according to the presidencies.
Oh.
I'm 45. I'm just messing with you.
It could be a different conversation.
I know. For another podcast for another day.
That's right.
Yeah, but no, seriously, talk a little bit about your journey and the success that you've achieved to this point. I mean, a black man with a doctorate degree is phenomenal.
Man, listen, it is. And I never thought that I would get this doctorate degree, because I was good at school, but I didn't care that much about it. Like, I was like, all right, I'll go to college.
Sure.
But then that's it. I'm going to do me.
Right.
But no, I stayed in it, So I'm from Detroit. I went to Mumford High School.
Yeah. Some of the best people in the world from Detroit.
Listen, that's accurate.
I'm telling you. And then there's the west side, and then there's the best side.
Okay.
You from the best side?
I'm from the west side.
No, man, that's the
west
side.
I think it's the best side.
No, east side is the best side, but Mumford
High School. Yeah. Went to Mumford High School. Wanted to go to Morehouse. Wasn't really too keen about what that looked like, even though I was a strong student.
Yeah.
I applied to Morehouse, and I didn't get in because my ACT scores were low.
I had a conditional acceptance to Morehouse.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Go ahead. We're talking about Jason right now. It's amazing how there's some parallelisms in our lives. We talked about that, when our wives connected us. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you decided not to go to Morehouse?
Well, I didn't get in.
Okay.
I had a really
They decided that you was not going to
Morehouse.
Morehouse.
They told me, so we'll pass. But no, I didn't have the ACT score.
Okay.
That's all it was. My GPA was high. I wasn't a good test taker. But I went to Michigan State University.
Likewise. Go green, right?
Go white. Go white.
Yep.
And that's where I got things started for me. I was majoring in engineering at first. Computer engineering.
You lost me there. I just got off the bus. My wife was an engineering major. I was a communications major.
Okay. Yeah, computer engineering. And I met my wife there at Michigan State. We were in the same program, the Charles Drew Science Enrichment Laboratory. She was in there for medicine. I was in there for the support of engineering. I didn't even want to be in the program. I was a young black man on campus, and
Right.
the director saw me and was like, "Hey, come here. You want to go into the sciences, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah." What do you
Maybe,
mean?
right?
And I got in the program, and I met my wife there freshman year. I wouldn't
Nice.
date freshman year.
Well, I can tell you that was the first plus of not going to Morehouse,
Absolutely.
because you wouldn't have met your wife at
We talk
Morehouse.
about it all the time. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And majored in computer engineering. Then that shifted and changed to computer science.
Okay,
Then engineering design. And then graphic design.
man.
And then art education.
So this is also a part to unravel, because we're talking both sides of your brain in operation now.
Yeah.
There's some creativity as it relates to the arts, and then there is the technological acumen that you need to understand computer technology.
Yeah.
How did that work, or how does that work?
You know what? I think it was always how I was wired.
Okay.
Even as a kid. So we were having a conversation earlier about, me being a techie, and it started when I was 12.
Yeah.
But I was also an artist. Like, I would draw and paint and do all those things. I wasn't allowed to have art classes in high school.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed because
You were on a track
was a smart
for
kid.
you were on a
I
track
was-
for STEM,
Yeah, exactly.
and there's no A in STEM.
Now it is.
I know.
but then no, it was like no.
Where did that stand for? Atomic energy? No, I'm just kidding.
Right. I remember the conversation. She said, your elective choices are physiology and anatomy, physics, or STEM chemistry. You can choose from those.
Wow.
But now I was like, I want to take art. She was like, sorry.
Well, it's paid off.
It has.
It shows the compassion side. You went on from your undergraduate degree right into the doctoral program, or was there?
Oh, no.
You had the master's experience.
No, when I was done, I became an educator. So when I got my degree in graphic design and art education, I was a teacher.
Okay,
So I became a teacher. I taught in Lansing Public Schools.
sure.
And
These
I-
pathways crossing. We lived in Lansing for 18 years.
That's crazy. Yeah. This is good, though. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I did that. I was a teacher of the year for the county my first year
Okay,
teaching. But in the same meeting that I was teacher of the year, they laid me off. So
It's like a thank you, but we'll take that back.
right, thank you.
What
But
happened? They laid you off.
good luck. Yeah, I had low seniority. I was new on the block.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with your poor performance.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm
That would
messing
make,
with you, man.
that wouldn't make any sense.
That would an oxymoron, right? It's
Big
like,
time.
okay, so you're teacher of the year, but we don't like the way you're doing things.
Right. Sorry.
But no, but
Figure it out.
think about that door being closed, open the door for something else.
It did.
Tell us what that is.
Yep. It allowed me to go back and get my master's.
Nice.
And something that I wasn't too keen on. I was like, master's. All right, might as well. And I got my master's in ed leadership
Okay.
at Michigan State University.
Okay.
Where I was teaching undergraduate students. I taught a couple classes there as I worked on my master's. And I started to fall in love with people in that lane of
Sure.
education.
Sure.
All right. So I did that, left, and then we moved to Grand Rapids after that.
Yes.
Because my wife, were we married at the time? 2008? We had just got married, and she matched in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
So we were moving to Grand
Matched
Rapids.
as in medical school.
In medical school, absolutely. So we moved to Grand Rapids, and I didn't have anything set up here. So I was a substitute teacher when I first moved to Grand Rapids in 2008.
Wow.
And, yeah, man.
It sounds like you all were on a trajectory. You were this nerd, that embraced nerdism. I'm a nerd too.
Yeah, for sure.
You embraced it, and it obviously kept you alive. You could have gone back to the statistical environment of Detroit and the challenges that are there, but instead God opened doors and pushed you toward achieving goals at master level.
Yeah.
Met your wife, who's now a doctor, OGBYN, am I correct?
OBGYN.
What did I say?
OG.
OBGYN. I'm not a woman, so I don't understand all of that. But I do appreciate the fact that you all are a power couple. When you
Yeah,
think
I
about
I heard
it, that's
that.
what they
I
told
heard
you,
that.
right?
I heard that.
You're a power couple, but I'm sure you got a lot of things that you can attribute your current level of growth and success to. But what would you begin to kind of hone that in on? What's behind growth for Jason McGee? What's behind the thing that makes you continue to succeed?
Oh, great question, man. I really think that, it was following in my uncle's footsteps that started it.
Okay.
He went to college, and when I was in middle school, high school, we would go visit during spring break. He went to Notre Dame.
Okay.
I said, this is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta do that. But I was slightly competing with him, even though he was a phenomenal academic.
Okay.
He was really smart.
Yeah.
And so it started there. But I've always had this thing about growing and change. I've always felt like a chameleon, but there was always more for me. It was
Sure.
just in my blood,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So outside of pinpointing it from my uncle and what he's done, it was more of how do we take the family legacy and push it forward.
Okay.
I think that might be the next idea that was in my mind or in my heart.
Yeah.
How do I do that? And how do I be the one?
Well,
And-
just stepping up to be a part of it is noble. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. Some people inherit family legacy and some people make it.
Right.
It sounds like you were helping to make family legacy. Is this on the McGee side?
Absolutely. Yeah, this was the McGee. Well, that's a complicated conversation too.
Another episode?
Yeah,
Stay
because-
tuned for another episode.
Right.
Well, the reason why I asked is because, we have been having this dialogue about fathers and the impact of fatherhood.
Yes.
Whether biological or otherwise, it's an important element in the success journey, having mentors and having fathers and father figures. And I did doctoral research in that area, even though my field is organizational leadership development. And so we've had some interesting conversations. Talk a little bit about your involvement with mentoring, fathering, from your own biologics. You got your kids, but you serve as a leader and a mentor in the eyes of some young men.
Yeah, listen, and it started back realizing the role my father had in my life.
Okay.
Because he wasn't there. He left when he was 3. And so a part of me
He left
growing-
when you was 3.
Yeah, did I say?
You said when he was 3.
He was 3.
Same
when
thing.
I was 3, right?
Same thing, right? I get it. I get it.
Yeah. When I was 3, he left. So for me, it was like, ooh, okay. In addition to what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
The question I asked myself, I never said it to anybody, was, well, who do I want to be?
Sure.
And it was, I want to be a dad.
Wow.
I want to be a dad because my dad didn't.
Sure.
He wasn't a dad for us or a father for us.
Yeah.
And I basically raised my brothers, my younger brothers.
Really?
So that gave me a little bit of,
practice.
experience. Yeah.
Here's
yeah.
another one of those situations that the enemy meant for evil, but God turned it out for your good.
Come on, man. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So that started this fire for me to say, all right, man, let's help as many boys as we absolutely can. Being an educator, deciding to go into schools and working in schools, working with not just young men, but the good ones,
Yeah.
the ones who
Show potential.
who just and they might fall through the cracks. They might fly under the radar because you don't know if they present as okay. They might have their mom, they might have their stepdad or dad, they might, but they're just okay. And
Yeah.
they don't talk much. They're not in the front. They're not the star athletes. They exist. They have decent grades, but they're still voids. They still need that push, that help, right? And I was a good kid. I could not get the score on the ACT.
Yeah.
What if I had a little bit of help?
I think it's some cross wires, man. I think it was that creative side and that technical side fighting with each other.
I agree with you.
And so you had to just kind of level off in the middle. So like a short circuit.
Yeah. I love that. I never thought about it like that.
I
but love
relate.
that.
I'm telling you, I relate.
Yes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So your passion, though, was birthed out of a necessity, your own, as well as identifying that in others.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some things in June, and I'm not exactly sure when this is airing, but we're going to be talking more around that, around faith and our fathers, as well as our freedoms.
Yes.
And so I'm looking forward to you being a part of that, to be a panel symposium and that kind of thing. But your journey is one for the books.
Yes.
You didn't have a whole lot of, to my knowledge, just based on what we've shared, a whole lot of physical opposition, but there's probably been a lot of like a psychological balance there.
Yeah.
Talk about that battle,
Yeah, very much internal.
Yeah.
Right? Am I doing the right thing? Am I helping my mom?
And then raising your brothers.
Right. Absolutely. That was the core principle of mine to this day.
They probably will argue with you about you raising them, right?
Absolutely.
They're like, you ain't raised me,
Had no idea. I was in the trenches for them, and they don't even know it.
Right.
But I was, and helping my mom. So I turned out being, I would self-identify as a people pleaser, right? Because I was always trying to please my mom, my grandma, make them happy, and I started to do that in other spaces. And so something that was a gift for me turned out to be almost a villain. So I had this superpower of wanting to help people, staying in the trenches, being okay, being patient, being understanding. And now that would work against me in some spaces, and it served as like a villain So I was pleasing people, saying yes all the time. We talked about this a little bit. Not having the boundaries that I needed. So it just slowed me down. It didn't stop me, but it definitely slowed me down in a lot of different ways.
Of course, my research wheels just started turning, and I started thinking about how statistically, we fall in a very small minority of men who made it out of those cycles of fatherlessness, only to look back to say that pushed me into the level of success that I have now, not being what you saw or didn't have, meaning having an opposite goal or objective. But what I was thinking about was the phenomenological aspect of making a decision somehow to spin out. You said you were a people pleaser. I think that's par for the course when you're left to carry responsibility that's not yours. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like comes with the baggage, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I can relate. But then also achieving. Other men have said right in that same chair you're in right now, we talked about how we became overachievers based on the fact that it was a certain affirmation that you got from achieving.
Yeah. Listen, I felt like I was a hyper dad. Like I overdid my dad responsibility to my own kids. Right? I was doing, like they would say, "You're doing the most, Dad," all the time. I'm like, I'm just making a meal.
And you really felt inside that the most was not enough. It still had to do more.
Exactly, because I was like, I'm not going to mess this up. We're going to make this thing work.
You will not turn out like me.
Not at all.
Kind of. Wasn't it that kind of
yes, in that internal battle, that I have silently to myself, with myself. When I'm going to sleep at night, those are the things that are in my head.
Did you do what you're supposed to do to help them be better than you were?
Yeah. But that also allowed me to get to this point where I left the principalship. I left the school.
Okay.
I took the sabbatical.
Okay.
Started writing a book.
Yes.
That I'm titling this book "Selfish Leadership."
Tell us about the book. Give me the synopsis.
Yeah, so "Selfish Leadership" is a book for leaders. Now,
educational leaders.
We're talking about it through an educational perspective.
Okay.
But the idea is that, hey, listen, in order for you to be a leader of others that are in your care, you have to lead yourself first. So how do you lead yourself? How do you have these conversations that are inside, these ethical and moral conversations or decisions that you have to make inside? How do you do that? How do you care for the people when you have to make sure that you're in the right space to lead and be okay? What does that look like? Sure. So this book is part of a guidebook that walks you through how to have these conversations within. But also, there's these vignettes that says, hey, as I was going through this process, let's stop here and talk about this situation that I had.
So you do like case studies or scenarios?
Little case studies, vignettes.
I like that. That's creative.
And talking about this is how I dealt with it. And so how do we increase our awareness, our self-awareness?
So do you attack at all the imposter syndrome in there?
You know what? Yes and no.
Okay.
I don't go into it deeply in this book, but I see it as something that will come up in my
I was going to say, I didn't find out into the imposter syndrome until I was post-finish with my dissertation work. So, but it's a thing. It's a thing.
It is. I'm towards the end. I'm starting to like, oh, okay. Ooh, I see it.
Sure.
So that will come out, I think, in the next book.
All right, Ashanti Bryant here, good friend of the Growth Exchange podcast. And I just want to invite you to come and participate in Fathers, Faith, and Freedom. This is going to be a fatherhood summit and symposium on Father's Day weekend, Saturday, June 14th, 9 a.m. to noon. No cost, lunch provided, an opportunity to hear research on fatherlessness from Dr. Terrence Lachey, a summary of that research, but then a really powerful opportunity to listen and engage with some of the most respected leaders in our community in Grand Rapids and West Michigan. Fathers, Faith, and Freedom Symposium, June 14th, 9 a.m. to noon. It's going to be a catalytic event, and you don't want to miss it.
It sounds like you've been shielded in a way, though, to be able to incubate your thoughts and ideas and then be creative and release that. I understand that you're discovering more of yourself at 45. You're discovering more of yourself with this food thing. Talk about that too, man.
Listen, and so it's funny because it all ties together. Right?
Sure.
So food was a way, when I was a principal, it was a way for me to de-stress.
Eating food or preparing food?
Preparing it. It started with chopping onions.
Oh, wow.
So when I would come
So
home from
nobody
work,
would know that you were crying.
Come on, you hide the tears. I'm not crying. I'm just chopping those onions. Listen, you tell it not my business.
Oh, okay. Now we didn't even practice that. It just came to me, you know.
Listen, that was a thing though.
Yeah.
So chopping onions, I could do this task where I didn't have to really interact with other people because I didn't want you in the kitchen with me.
Exactly.
This is my space, my time. But it was more of my. I laugh, I joke about. I said, "This is my anti-drug. This is how I stay
Exactly.
good." Because if
it wasn't for the onions, you know.
listen, this would be crazy. Because being a school principal is a very demanding
And stressful.
position.
Yeah, stressful.
Right, so I started chopping onions and making meals, and then what would happen was the art side of me translated into food, serving food. And when I made food for you, listen, it's a thing. If I make food for you, it's time. You're chopping onions.
It's
and
an
bell
ultimate
peppers
expression culturally
Big time.
throughout the ages.
Listen,
it's
yes.
it's an expression of care, an extension of hospitality, but then also you're making a statement when you give somebody a meal.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where it lives. And so I get so full by that. And right now, with me not being in a school, I visit schools, but I'm not in my own school anymore. I'm not getting that same level of
Right,
love.
because the principal pretty much is control of that building, that whole community
Yeah.
under that roof. Yeah. So you're having withdrawals right now?
Well, now that I'm cooking and making food for people,
therapeutic.
It's therapeutic.
Right.
And my family, especially my wife, is my toughest critic.
Really?
Yeah, she's super sensitive.
I'm
man.
sure she's appreciating that she can come
does.
home. She can come home and smell some onions cooking
Yeah,
or
for
something,
sure.
right?
She loves it.
What about your kids? How do they appreciate the dad food
so
versus mom food? You know, there's a difference.
Yeah, you have to ask them because I don't know. Here's what I do know. I know that I make meals for them, and a lot of times they either won't eat or they'll request macaroni and cheese or pizza or the typical things that kids eat. They want that, and I'm like, that's fine, but I'm not making that every day. You're gonna have this eggplant today. Oh God. You're gonna have this eggplant,
Spinach.
We're gonna have
Broccoli.
we're gonna have these. You're gonna eat different types of food.
So you be listening to like the veggie song while you cooking in there.
No, not the veggie song,
Right.
but we make it happen.
I'm proud of you, man. Seriously, for one, embracing that side of creativity. There are a lot of times, as men, we be like, "Oh no, I ain't cooking. That's a woman's job," or I'm the provider, and I gotta go out there and be about the business. It sounds like you're doing things that you would like to have had done for you. That's what it sounds like. Now, I'm not a therapist or anything, but let's talk a little bit about why you have a passion around cooking or feeding others.
Because my mom did it
There you
for
go.
us.
There you go.
My grandmother did it, and although I watched them do it, I never participated as a kid that often. But that was a way to show a lot of love. Unfortunately, when we would go to funerals,
The repast.
and there were people who their sole job was to make the food for everybody else, and that's an important role.
Oh,
You talk
absolutely.
about this. I mean, even in civil rights, I was reading up and learning.
You were setting me up for this whole thing with the symposium. We're talking about fathers, faith, and freedums. So go ahead.
That was a role. Now you might not have been out there marching. You might not have been out there, during Bloody Sunday, when the dogs were attacked. But you were feeding all of the advocates, all of the activists, all the people who had a voice. You were making sure that they stay fueled up.
Sure.
And that was an important
Well,
role.
food plays a significant part in all of humanity's existence. From the fall, it was over some food, to the restoration of all things, where the great table of the Lord is spread in the book of Revelation. And I don't want to turn into the preacher, but food is a significant tool, caveat, avenue by which we reach people's heart. And deals are made, covenants are made, all of those things. come from the concept and the idea of a basic element. We all need food to live.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Watch this. As a principal, we had this this strategy, if you will, this framework, restorative practices. Are you familiar
Yes,
with-
very, very familiar.
And-
I've gone through a few of the workshops and trainings. So,
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And so the way we did it in our school, when we had a formal circle or a formal restorative circle, we always brought food.
It neutralizes the space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we won over so many children, parents, even teachers, even
Yeah.
grown-ups in our building. I would bring a little bit of food and let's have a difficult conversation,
Absolutely.
a courageous conversation.
Yeah. Food has a tendency to neutralize things that would divide us, even though food can be very culturally expressive. So let's talk a little bit about your favorite meal or favorite food to prepare.
Oh, that's such a tough one for me.
Because I'm gonna do something with this. So tell me what it is, and I want to.
See, I don't know. I
So
asked somebody
you're
yesterday.
exploring right now.
Yeah, I don't know what my favorite dish is. I mean, I would probably say right now it changes. It's like it's very moody.
Sure.
Right. So
So it depends
now,
on how you feel.
Yeah. So
You're literally experiencing artistic expression with food.
listen, you know what? That's why I say it's so closely related.
Yeah.
Art and cook, it's the same thing for me. I'm learning it's the same.
Well, what I
thing.
was going to try to do is build a crosswalk between what you do as an educator, an administrator educator, in preparing, quote unquote, spaces for people to consume or eat nutrients that's necessary for their life. And that's education. I mean, think about the books, the classes, the tests, the exams. Those are all dishes, meals that have to be eaten over time. And you can't feed a kindergartner steak, you know,
that's
without preparing it in a certain kind of way so they can chew it if they can eat meat at that early age. You know, some parents are real big on that. But think about how there might be some parallel between who you are as a doctor, PhD, a educator from an administrative perspective, dad. None of these are in a particular order. Almost an entrepreneur, because once that book hits, I'm sure it's going to sell. What if all of these things are equivalent to being a chef? We went to Haiti on one of our first missions trips. We did a hope relief tour with a group of folks, and we went to Haiti, and they taught us a song. We stayed at an orphanage that we support even to this day, and we stayed there, and they used to sing at night after the meal. They would get together and just start singing, and there was a game that they played called You Are the Chef.
Okay.
You are the chef, and the chef is the word that's patois word, I guess, that's being used to describe the person in charge, the person who's the best, the person who's got it going on.
Okay.
The chef. And I can remember playing that game in the circle, and what would happen is that they put a different person in the circle each time, and they would, dance while they're singing, "You are the chef, you are the chef, you are the chef," and then they would point to somebody, and then that person becomes the chef. Sort of like Little Sally Walker game, kind of thing. And it inspired me because, of course, it was a meager meal, but yet there was so much joy around that and affirmation around what happens when a meal occurs.
Yes.
What if your calling, I'm just looking at your growth pattern, is to help prepare people for the meal, help prepare the meal, help to create that space.
I tell you
I
what.
won't charge you for that at all.
No, listen, charge in my pocket. But I bet you my wife would concur.
Good.
She would agree.
Good.
And I think that she thinks that my next step is in this space, this culinary space, this food space. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna have to take you up on that. And let's see.
Sure. You know what's a blessing is to have a wife that supports you in your endeavors and even in your sabbatical experience.
Yes.
Because some wives be like, when is it over?
Listen, absolutely.
He's like, put your spatula away and go back to the office.
Please, what are you doing?
What are you
What are you
doing?
doing?
You know what I can foresee, because you do a podcast as well.
I do.
I can foresee you cooking and talking and cooking.
And that's what people are asking. They're like, "Hey, I seen your other podcast. That's cool. But when are you gonna do another cooking video where you're
cooking
videos? I employ some of those ideas and thoughts and conversations as I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And
Well, share with the listeners right now your podcast information. Where can they find you? What's the title?
It's on Spotify, and it's called "It's Time for a Pep Talk."
Time for a pep
It's
talk.
time for a pep talk.
All right.
And the goal is to gear up educators, gear up parents for the upcoming week for school.
Sure.
Because here's the thing, I feel like education you're in it, especially if you have kids. So you go through school, yourself, and then you have kids, and so you're tied to school for a very long time. And so as you're getting ready for the week, just to get your mind right, to reset, to get ready to battle the week, hey, here's a little encouraging word to kind of get you through and to maybe help you out. And listen to it on your way in. It's about 10 minutes, maybe 12.
Sure.
And just hopefully there's a couple nuggets or jewels that you can take and, consume and then use it. And then when you're done and you need some more, come on back.
So it's time for a pep talk with Dr. Jason McGee. And the book is
Selfish Leadership.
Selfish Leadership.
Selfish Leadership.
I'm excited, man, for your growth and what's happening. I know that I saw a couple of the episodes, podcast episodes of Time for a Pep Talk. You're going to throw some food in there. It's like meal prep now. It's time for a prep talk. You know?
You ain't going to charge me for that one either, are you?
No, I won't charge you for that one, but
Okay,
I do
I
want to
love
be a guest.
Oh, absolutely.
At least to taste the food.
Absolutely.
At least to taste the
Listen,
food.
we're going to take this food to another level. I am starting this Sunday for my birthday. The way I'm celebrating is I'm starting my supper club.
Nice.
It's a private dining experience for between 6 to 12 people, and a 4-course meal I'll be serving. And you get to enjoy each meal explained to you, brought out to you. We'll have some themed conversations, some activities that happen throughout the night. But yeah, we're really going to enjoy food and each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in a private space.
Yeah. That's kind of some bougie stuff, but I get it.
A little bit.
I get it.
A little bit.
Man, it's an honor. I'm thankful to God that I had a chance to meet you earlier on, and then we finally got to connect because we got some similarities. But I'm learning from you. I'm watching you, ride out this journey of growth and development. I watch you in interaction with your sons, particularly, and because I got sons as well. I have one daughter, but sons, and it's a positive thing. Mm-hmm. They respect you. You respect them. They learn from you. We were at the African American Male Achievement Conference, and your son was right there with you 7:30 in the morning. He was right there with a tripod in his hand, and he was there, and enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
But one of the things that stood out to me, and even just most recently with your younger son, is that they reach out, they shake your hand, look you in the eye, and have good conversation. So you're doing something right.
That's so good.
You're doing something right,
Because
man.
I question myself sometimes.
I'm sure. Don't question it. I can tell. I mean, I'm not an old vet, but I'm just a vet. And my sons are all grown, and now I have grandsons. And what you're doing and what you're pouring into them is definitely a blessing for not only your generation and your legacy to come, but for us today.
Yes, sir.
That's one less statistic that we have, 2 less statistics that we have to worry about. Or, I'm grateful.
That blesses my heart, man, my soul, because that's the work. When I said I wanted to be a dad when I was older.
Sure.
This is what I was talking about. This is what I wanted.
Well, I can bear witness to it, and you didn't pay me to say it.
I did.
It's coming across. It's happening, and I know it's not without challenge. So you're in good company. The listening audience, you're going to hear more about this conversation and this dialogue around fatherlessness, father's faith, and freedom. Mm-hmm. You're definitely a part of the dialogue and the conversation.
Yes.
I want to give you the last few minutes a few seconds, I guess, of this podcast to talk to the listening audience, because we were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. That's what podcasts are all about, man. And this is the growth exchange.
Yes.
It's not just, not just talk, it's exchange. So share something with them that might be encouraging in some kind of way, or maybe even a life statement that you'd be willing to share.
Okay. I think what's important is, as you are growing, however you're growing, wherever you're growing in your career, with yourself as a person, as a husband, as a friend, as a son, as a father, as a sister, brother, whatever you're doing, however you're growing, you're going to come to a point where you have to make a major decision, and you might have to just jump and see if you fly. And I'm speaking that because that's exactly what I did when I left the schools. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to leave. I was tied to the community, tied to the kids. And to leave that was the scariest thing that I've ever done. And I did it. I jumped. And I realized I do have wings. And I'm able to fly. I would have never known it had I just stayed in my space, confined. That's a bad word. Mm-hmm. But confined to this space, I would have never known that, I can fly, and I can fly high. I can do things. I can do more. So I encourage you to, when that day comes, jump
All right.
and fly. Because you can, and you will, and you must. You must do it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Jason McGee. I'm going to leave it right there, man. I'd love to have you back the closer we get to the symposium. Definitely would love to have more dialogue. And we're going to try to do a group discussion with you and some of your buddies and friends around this. Oh, man, I don't even know what to call this particular episode. There's so many great things. We could talk at education and food or, administration, education, authorship, artistic, computer technology,
We're gonna leave
dad, right?
There we go.
All of the above. Thank you so much.
Chef. I like that.
Chef, you are the chef. All right.
I like that.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you,
and
Doc.
we'll definitely have you back. Jason McGee.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Growth Exchange. I'm Dr. Terrence Lachey. It's been a pleasure to have these conversations and dialogues with our guests. If you notice, one thing we all share in common, and that is the ability, the desire, and the potential to grow and maximize our fullest potential. So keep tuning in. Share this with somebody, like it, maybe even invite somebody. And if you'd like to be a guest, contact us with the information that's here and available for you. Let's grow.